What are the genetically modified crops or foods? The term GM foods or GMO, genetically modified organism, is most commonly used to refer to grow plants created for human or animal consumption using the latest molecular biology techniques. These plants have been modified in the laboratory to enhance desired traits such as increased resistance to herbicides or improved nutritional content. The enhancement of desired traits has traditionally been undertaken through breeding, but conventional plant breeding methods can be very time consuming and are often not very accurate. Genetic engineering, on the other hand, can create plants with the exact desired trait very rapidly and with great accuracy. For example, plant geneticists can isolate a gene responsible for drought tolerance and insert that gene into a different plant. The new genetically modified plant will gain drought tolerance as well. Not only can genes be transferred from one plant to another, but genes from non-plant organisms also can be used. The best known example of this is the use of Bt genes in corn and other crops. Bt or Bacillus thuringiensis is a naturally occurring bacterium that produces crystal proteins that are lethal to insect larvae. Bt crystal protein genes have been transferred into corn, enabling the corn to produce its own pesticides against insects such as the European corn borer. The use of genetically modified organisms or GMOs has sparked intense debate since the 1980s, when scientists first began exploring the possibilities of selectively blending genes in the lab to produce a desired outcome. Opponents worry about the long-term health effects on humans of eating genetically altered foods and the loss of biodiversity that gene manipulation endangered. There is also concern about gene splicing or the mixing of GMOs and naturally grown plants that could have unintended consequences. But the benefits of genetic engineering on crop yields and other factors are hard to ignore. The first one is the desired outcomes. Farmers, dog breeders, and Mother Nature have long used natural selection to weed out undesirable traits in a species and leave only those that satisfy a specific goal. In nature, survival and procreation are the main objectives, but human tinkering seeks to enhance genetic structure to meet a specific need. The second one is the greater yields. GMOs can be engineered to grow faster, yielding more meat in less time. Genetically altered cows can produce more milk, and hence with manipulated genes can lay more eggs. Third, the resistance. A primary focus of most genetically engineered crops is to build in resistance to certain pests and diseases that could otherwise wipe out the entire harvest. Engineering corn and soybeans to resist herbicides has allowed U.S. farmers to decrease the amount of chemicals they use to control weeds. They can better target herbicide applications since the food plants are immune to the poisonous effects. Similarly, some cotton and corn grown in the United States is crossed with the bacterium Bacillus thuringiensis, which is toxic to certain insects. Growing crops with a built-in defense system reduce the amount of chemical pesticides needed in agriculture. Risks of GMOs or genetically modified organisms. The risk of genetically modified organisms or GMOs could be substantial and irreversible. Concerns about GMO safety have been raised from a variety of sectors, such as religious, environment, public interest, scientific and government. While GMO technology provides major benefits, the potential for serious risk to the environment, human health, and economic concern are still remains. The first one is the environment, cross-pollination. The potentially negative environmental impacts of GMOs are numerous, and many are as yet unknown and could be irreversible. These include the loss of flora and fauna biodiversity, unintended harm to other organisms, and reduced effectiveness of pesticides. According to the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, one of the biggest concerns is the creation of superweeds, the unintentional transfer of herbicide resistance genes from desired crops to weeds. Some of these concerns, however, are the same concern that could occur with breeding. The second one, environment and genetic consequences. The artificial insertion of genes into organisms could destabilize that organism, encouraging genetic mutations that could be detrimental either to the environment, to humans, or both. Insertion of the desired gene into a crop genome could activate or deactivate other genes, causing unintentional consequences as well.